This is Brendan Burke and Chris Musante's oral history project with Mr. Bryan Baynard. First going to ask you just name and just spell it all the way out, please.
Okay. My name is Bryan Baynard, Bryan Baynard.
Your age, or I guess date of birth, whichever one.
July 10th, 1956.
Okay. And your occupation.
I am a auto refinisher.
Cool. You like that job? You,
Very much.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
Over 20 years.
Yeah. Did you do any schooling for it, or did you just?
No, I actually didn't. My boss at the time made a deal with me. He just told me, he said one day, he says, Bryan, learn to paint or you're fired.
And is that paint cars?
Paint cars,
Okay.
yes. I'd always painted cars. I painted models, like when I was like 12, 13 years old. I started painting car models to match the boxes. And
that's great. Okay, so I guess, how did you originally come to live in Mount Pleasant or be involved in Mount Pleasant?
my mom moved there. I don't even know what age we were, we moved there. I don't know the year. I guess I was probably, I'd say second grade, third grade, maybe.
Okay. And you said you don't live there anymore?
No, I live in Burke now, down the street from the high school.
Okay. What,
Conestoga.
yeah, whereabouts?
Green Road?
Say it again?
Green Road?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I live on, the other side,
Okay.
I live 5-minute walk from the train station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. So, I guess, how many years did you live in Mount Pleasant? From, second grade until...
Well, then we moved a couple times. Then I guess 72. I think from 72 till I graduated high school. Well, not quite accurate. From about third grade on, I moved to TE, not TE, Hillside. I went to Hillside a few years.
Hey, yeah, me too.
Okay, and then back to the school then was Stratford Elementary.
Okay.
I went there the final year that before they closed that. So I guess I've been there 72. I don't know where I got that. 75 I graduated from Conestoga.
Okay. I see.
So
Nice.
hopefully we can figure out what I said.
Oh, no problem. Back then it was I guess sophomore, junior, senior year. So you spent 3 years in Conestoga, right?
Yes.
And what middle school, I guess, or junior high?
It was junior high, Valley
Yeah.
Forge.
Valley Forge. Okay. Yeah, I'm a TE guy. That's just unfortunate. Okay. Let's see. Did you? I guess when you lived there, did you live in the same house? Like the whole time you lived there in Mount Pleasant?
No, I lived in a couple different homes in Mount Pleasant. I lived on Fairview Avenue,
Okay.
2 houses there, and then I believe it was around 72 when my mom bought her house, which is on Henry Avenue.
Okay, yeah, Henry. And does your mom still live there?
Yes, I saw her tonight. That's what made me late. Made me late, Mom. When I said I was going to go around the block and come up.
We thought we
up
saw you at
Henry.
the bottom there.
Yeah. Mom was sitting on her deck and she gave me the signal.
That's
Like
great.
I had to stop.
Oh, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
So I guess you graduated in '75,
Yes.
and from then you.
I went to electronic school
Okay, cool.
and
Like a trade school for
trade school,
like
yeah, Rets Electronics,
how
and
do you
then
spell that school?
RETS,
RETS Electronics, and where was that out of?
Upper Darby.
Okay, that's cool. And did you live out there?
No.
And
No, I did
so
not.
you commuted?
Yeah, I drove my car, but yes.
Yeah. Where were you commuting from at that point? The Henry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Henry Avenue, Mom's
Great.
house.
Nice. And so has your mom lived there? I mean, in that same house since I guess
Yeah,
when
since
you
she
moved there?
purchased it. in
She purchased
72.
it. Nice. Okay. Let's see what else. I guess you haven't been living there too recently, but over the years, how do you feel like Mount Pleasant has changed? During the years.
It's been a drastic change.
Yeah.
Yes, it's no longer what it used to be.
Which was what?
Quiet fun.
I like it. And it's gone to.
Well, we have a lot of college kids there now,
Okay.
and they're not, when you're
Mhm.
born and raised in Mount Pleasant or have lived there, you learn every house, like everyone in Mount Pleasant,
Right. Sure.
and you know that the kids play in the street,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely. And
that's
so
where
you
we
don't
play.
drive fast.
Yeah.
I guess.
So now let me see how fast I can get to the next corner, so you gotta watch the
Right.
kids,
So has like the influx of college students really, I don't know, taken away from that really?
Yes. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's changed a lot now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know because we took a tour with, I guess it was.
Barbara Burke.
Barbara Burke.
Yeah,
Yes.
we took it, and she showed us a lot. There's vacant lots and lots that have been purchased by investors. And
Yes, and houses have been torn
then,
down.
right. Was it like that a
No.
while? I mean, how recent would you say it started to, trend that direction?
Probably 10 years,
Yeah,
I would think.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's changed the landscape drastically. I mean, there's rules that we're finding out that, from the police, from different calls. Mount Pleasant was a very, like we have a community association there,
right.
and the then police chief that we had, who's no longer there now, Chief Harkness, he used to come out to the community association and give us reports on like how many times the police were in Mount Pleasant, how many times fire, ambulance, and
Yeah.
crime. And it's going up since, and
It
that
has
was an
gone
address
up.
since the
Yeah.
colleges, with,
Sure.
parties,
Just
sunbathers.
just domestic kind of.
So now, yeah, people arguing between
Yeah.
residents that have lived there for a while and the kids that doesn't understand,
Yeah.
what Mount Pleasant means and what it is and
Mhm.
what we do.
Right. Right. That's totally understandable. So, I mean, I guess as a person who's a little bit more on the outside now,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like the continuation of the, Cabrini, Villanova, whomever, the college students living there, do you think that's, become part of the community, or do you think it's something that maybe they, community members like yourself would like to leave?
No, the turnover with colleges, so the kids will never know or understand. They're not there long enough to,
Right.
like they come in for a semester or two, whatever, and then they're gone, and then whether
Right.
they come back to the house or other kids come in,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they,
There's never going to be
right,
consistency, right?
yes, and they just probably feel that, this is our time to party, to do what we want, and,
Sure.
you know,
Hmm.
we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Does make it okay, it's just kind of
Right, it
reality,
doesn't make
I
it
guess.
okay, it's just, yeah, reality too.
Let me guess, do you think there's been any advantages to the college kind of kids? Like, are there people, any community members making money off of the rent, or
Any of the,
you
excuse
know,
me,
people that
community
are
people?
the landlords
Oh,
maybe?
yes, sure,
Yeah,
sure, the
You-
landlords they're making
yeah,
money.
are landlords, are they community members, or are
No,
they?
they're outside,
Okay,
outside, they're
so
not from,
there's really no benefit, I guess, coming from them, from
no,
them.
no,
Okay.
there isn't. They just say, if anything happens, give us a call. But, you know,
Yeah,
they don't,
That never happened, right?
they don't do anything.
Okay. How about, like, outside your nuclear family, like, your extended family? Has there been a lot of people that have lived there, or like siblings that still live there? Do you have in Mount Pleasant?
Not just mom.
Yeah. Are you an only child?
No, I have two brothers. One's
Two.
in California and one's Conshohocken, I believe. It's
Okay.
horrible. He just recently moved, so.
Yeah. Okay. But for the most part, you yourself have lived like in the Chester County area?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And your mom, I mean, your mom before she moved in 1975,
Now, 72. Mom moved
72.
Again, yeah. Well, we lived in Mount Pleasant, like I said, in a couple different houses.
Okay.
And then when the house she's in now went up for sale, she purchased it.
Okay. And before that, did she grow up there?
No, Mom was Berwyn.
Okay.
Actually, where I live right now
Oh, cool.
is, yeah. The house is different, obviously, but
Mhm.
yes.
Sure.
She gave my wife and I the property
Right.
to build our home on.
And how about your wife? Did you meet her in Mount Pleasant, or did
Church?
church? That church?
No, Mount Zion, AME Church in Devon.
Okay, sure. And so she's not from
She's from Paoli.
Paoli, like Summit Avenue, that
Central.
Avenue. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, my next question was: were you ever planning on moving away from Mount Pleasant? But I guess what I can change that to was was it a goal to move out, or was it just you just decided,
No,
or it was an opportunity?
just- yeah,
Mhm.
it's just like you grow up, you move on,
Mhm.
and you don't burn bridges in case something happens and you got to go back.
Right.
You know, that was one thing Mom always told us.
Right. Do you definitely prefer Berwyn now, or do you kind of regret not still living in Mount Pleasant?
No, I like where I am,
Yeah.
but I feel bad for Mount Pleasant, what it's become.
Right. Okay. I mean, do you feel like the majority of the community has the same sentiment?
That's a tough one. I really
Yeah.
haven't talked to many people about it,
Right.
but I do notice that, as you grow up and people aren't keeping their homes.
Right.
Okay.
Like.
The high school, for instance, there's never been many black kids in the schools here.
Mhm.
Anyway, TE was always less black kids than Valley Forge because of
Sure.
the way they bust the kids.
Right. Right.
Even Devon,
Yeah.
that Devon area, the apartments and stuff, they pass TE to go to Valley Forge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I met I play basketball. I met most of my black friends in Conestoga, and they had all
Mhm.
gone to Valley Forge.
yes.
So, let's see. I guess influx of college students definitely wasn't bad. I guess if you were still living in Mount Pleasant, would you want to raise your kids there, or would you definitely raise them where you live now, or prefer to?
That's a good one. No, if I was in Mount Pleasant, the police would would also have a substation in Mount Pleasant, because I would call so often that they would just leave a
Yeah.
car there.
Okay.
You know, there were so many things that, you know, the members of the families in Mount Pleasant, they let go. You know, they try to, you know what I mean?
When you say let go,
Yeah, things that some of the kids do, they
They-
try not to see it, you know, or
right?
just let it go.
Be-
The police don't respond and do things like that. But me personally, I'll call. If they don't do what I feel should be done, then I go over their heads. I
Right.
butt heads with people because I keep going up the chain and I document what I say and when it was, who
Sure.
I talked to, and then I go to the next person.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I don't live there.
Mm.
I don't think you do either. But there's actually a few kids in our class, in our
Mhm.
class, who do live
Yeah.
in that area, and no other kids. And our teacher was kind of on the Mount Pleasant side, saying, well, you know, the kids are doing this, urinating in lawns, getting in fights in the street, loud parties
Yes.
on weeknights.
Mhm.
And from what I can tell, you wouldn't stand for any of that.
No,
And so would you say
we
that?
never had that.
Okay, that's.
So this is new
Hmm.
to the community.
So do you think the community's almost like gotten so used to it that they're just, like you said, letting just
Yeah.
letting it go at this
Yes,
point?
I believe that. Between that
Mhm.
and the police not what I feel doing their job, you
Okay.
know, and I'm actually trying, and I'm not having any success because they're nervous about it. I wanted to get like 5 or 6 black men to get a bottle of, well, beer, but actually have the beer bottle in bags with ginger ale in them,
Uh-huh.
and go sit in a white neighborhood and see what the police's reaction is to it.
Yeah.
Just to see, you know, because what they said was, you're allowed to walk around the streets with open containers. That is not accurate.
Yeah, I didn't think
Right,
that was
but
true.
they didn't want to crash the party because they said, well, we were college kids once. We know what's, you know what I mean? Not
Right.
taking into consideration the community.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tight community. You've been down there, you see how it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
And to have like 15 houses or so
Mhm.
with college kids
Sure, I
in it,
think
you
that
know,
Barbara
it's
Bird said it was 17 now.
okay,
You know, and
yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly how many, but that it's not a big enough neighborhood where it's that's probably
Yeah.
at least a third.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
hmm So you can see the impact
Yeah.
of the college life on the community.
Right.
You know, there's not just 1 or 2 college kids in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Parties and hordes of kids, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the parking situation has to be a really
Yeah,
big
there's
issue.
no parking.
No- mm,
You know, well, parking is very tight. You know,
Yeah.
we're not used to topless bathers on the roofs, the little slanted roofs over the
Right.
porch.
Right.
Not used to that. We never had
Yeah.
that.
As nice as that sounds, that's
Right.
not good for the
Yeah.
raising kids. I can say. Okay. I guess while you were living there, back in I don't want to say back in the day,
Well,
but
back
you
in the
know,
days, good. That's
during
okay.
high school, I mean, growing up there,
Mhm.
what were, I guess we'll start with, the advantages, if any, and what did you like about it?
The advantages were everyone knew everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and like if your parents were going out, you had always had a babysitter, or or
Right.
someone always eyes were always on you, no matter where you were, because we
Right.
didn't leave the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a safe, comfortable place to be.
Yeah.
And we played in the street all the time because that's what we did.
Yeah,
The
sure.
sidewalks or curbs, they were the out of bounds when we played football in the street. We always practiced getting our feet down before we stepped out, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, yeah, it was,
Hmm. And even as you got older, maybe closer to high school, just out of high school, was it the same kind of
It
feel?
was the same, yeah. The kids were doing the same thing. It was like,
Yeah.
just got passed down. Kids, when they got old enough to, do it, they
Yeah.
did the same thing.
I guess it was the drinking age 18 at that point?
No, 21.
It was 21? Okay,
It was
so
21.
I wouldn't imagine there was too many underage things to worry
No.
about. There wasn't. How would you describe like the relationship between the police and the community at that point?
Horrible.
In what way?
Trying to word this nicely.
Be
The
blunt.
police were horrible.
Mhm.
They did things that should never be done.
Okay.
Clubs, people, blocking off the intersection and coming in with riot gear on, and
Really?
Yes.
For a community like that?
Yeah.
For what kind of, like, responding to what?
I honestly don't know. I'm saying everybody, we weren't perfect, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But we didn't need what was going on. The dispatch then was in the police station.
Okay.
And the police, so there was no one overseeing the
Right.
police activity. And in Paoli, Central Summit, that area,
Hmm.
Mount Pleasant, which is Fairview, Upper Gulf, Henry,
Right.
Mount Pleasant Avenue, it was a lot of fights,
Sure.
against the police. And the chief said one day, and I quote, "We didn't like those black son of a bitches, and they didn't like us." And that was said to me
To you.
at a meeting a few years ago.
A community meeting?
No,
Or,
at a township function.
wow, and these are two different Easttown.
Well, True Different has their own police department.
Right.
Easttown has their own.
Oh, right. And then what about, because there is that whole, I guess, Upper Marion, half of Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, that messed up our football team.
Yeah, I'm sure. And
Because we all played together on weekends,
yeah,
and when we got to junior high, we ran the plays that we learned from our coaches in junior high, coaches
Yeah.
in, Conestoga. So when we practiced, when we went to different neighborhoods to play, we called the play that we used in school, and
yeah.
it was fun, yeah. We got some of the linemen was on the team, from the schools.
That's interesting. So, was there kind of, as far as like, back again to like high school age, did you have like some of your good buddies end up getting shipped off to Upper Marion and stuff like was there a split?
Yes.
And, did that ever cause tension? That kind of
No.
Upper Marion, or was it?
No,
Okay,
no.
yeah. How we doing on time?
I don't know.
I think we should be doing okay.
I was told for this interview I get a steak dinner or something.
So I'll have a half a cheesesteak here if you want it, a bag of chips.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, I guess, at this point, if you could have it your way, what maybe would you change, why, when, maybe just some
What I
broad things that you really feel like would, change and help the community, in your opinion.
Better, because the college kids aren't going away as long as people are making money renting the homes, which I don't condone, making money, but it's just that it's a tough situation for the people that live there full time. The homeowners don't live there. All they
Right.
know is they're getting that check every month.
Yeah.
Their
and they
rent
don't,
check
and
and
frankly, if there's no legal problems, they probably don't care. You
right.
know?
Yes.
That's not
And
right.
then when the police are involved, they say, okay, we'll talk to them, but how many times do they really go
Yeah.
and say, hey, guys, you got to tone it down? It's
Yeah.
a little...
And how much does that really do?
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So would you think, I guess, stricter policies or, maybe just not allowing that kind of landlord type of situation, letting them
Well,
rent?
what I see is when my family first got there, the houses were all rental properties, and people always talked about how bad condition the houses were. Mount Pleasant is poor, Mount Pleasant is broke down, but no one understood that the houses were rented, and the people that owned the homes didn't fix them up. And a lot of them were owned by the guy that had this community store where the mail was dropped off. They didn't go and put it in your mailboxes. They gave it to the guy at the store. And a lot of times he would open it first and go through them, read them. If you had a check in there, he would, say, hey, you got to sign this over to me. You owe me rent. Things like that.
I mean, probably illegal, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but again, I guess with the poor relationship with the cops, you're not going to have too much.
Who do you go to?
Right.
No.
And that's frustrating. So I guess when your mom lived there, when she moved in, or when she was in those few houses, she was renting.
Yes.
Okay.
She was renting up until she purchased the house she lives in now.
Right. And your siblings, what are, I guess, the age differences?
We're 2 years apart.
Okay. I guess on to well, first of all, I guess when you were in high school or that age and before you moved away, was there really ever a serious concern for like your safety? Did you ever feel like if it came down to it, the cops were not going to help you?
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah, all
Really?
the time. The police were not friends of the community.
Okay. And I mean,
As I got older, I pushed. I got not in trouble, but I used to get pulled over a lot, and up
Really?
until '95.
would you say like legitimate pullovers?
No, I didn't get tickets. They were
Okay.
routine checks. One time was I searched my car, did a lot of damage to it, and
What kind of damage?
they ripped up my carpeting and stuff.
Like upholstery.
$5,000 worth of damage.
Did you have to pay for it?
Yes, I had to pay for it. I gave them probable cause to search my car. I reached under the seat, which I did, to get my wallet, because I finished playing tennis. My stuff
Sure.
was under the seat, so I reached down to pull it out, and,
But once you pull out a wallet, you would think
Yeah.
that there's.
Now, then they called in, there was 4 more police cars came, and they had me outside of my car, stretched out over the hood as they
Right.
went through my car. The last time I got pulled over, I went and fought it with the judge, and he told him, don't ever pull. He said, I know this man for a long time, don't ever pull him over again.
Right.
And he just retired, that judge,
Judge Anthony?
Judge Anthony.
Yeah.
He told him, don't ever pull this man over again. And then I do, like when kids get in trouble for underage drinking or, skateboarding,
Yeah.
standing and talking, things like that.
Loitering or whatever.
Yeah, then they get community service, then they usually call me.
Oh, okay. Where
And
do you
then I
do your?
that. I do it at my church, Mount Zion, in
Right.
Devon, or I try to find things like within the township.
Okay.
I run the compost site a lot when it's open. Whatever I can do.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just switch gears a little bit here. As we were walking around, we noticed there's a lot of vacant properties that it sounded like maybe investors or property developers
Yes.
decided to buy the land, knock houses down, or just buy the land, and
Right.
then ended up not building, vacating,
Correct.
doing whatever.
Yes.
I guess what do you know about what all happened with some of those properties? Like, are you, like, were people, do they tell you, or is it just all of a sudden, you find out they're not building and that's it? That's the end of it?
Right, well, the big lot on Henry Fairview
Right at the bottom.
at the bottom,
Yeah.
that guy ran out of money.
Okay.
Yeah, the people that lived on the other side, that's Upper Marion actually.
Right.
They sued him for water running off of the property.
Really?
Off of the property, because he wasn't supposed to do what he did,
Which was?
strip the land like that. The township did not give him permission to do that.
There were woods there, right?
Yes, there was woods and there was 2 houses there.
Oh, he knocked it all down.
He knocked 3 houses and a little garage apartment. Yeah, he knocked them all down, pushed the dirt all over the place,
Yeah.
took out all the trees. The township said he wasn't supposed to, but he didn't plant anything else up there,
That's
so he
unbelievable.
got away with that.
Yeah, I'm sure yourself that's pretty frustrating. I'm
Yes.
sure you wouldn't, if you still live there, I'm sure you wouldn't want your kids wandering down into a lot like that. They could have any.
Well, they're down there playing today in there.
Really?
The
So-
kids, yeah.
Because as far as Barbara Bird told us, they're required legally to have a fence.
Yes, they
right?
are. Yes.
And that property does not.
No,
Wow. And how many other properties like that would you say there are?
I don't know, but there's a lot.
Like,
A lot of houses, like if you go over on Mount Pleasant Avenue,
mm,
you would see
there's definitely the one that used
4
to,
or
I guess they had
5.
to fill in.
Yes, where they dumped all the,
Hmm.
yeah, the guy bought that, he had a construction business or something, so he dumped all of his debris down in there. From like wood, houses and
Right.
sidewalks, things like that.
That's frustrating. Um, do you think that, people or investors or same thing, developers, do you think that those properties will ever get bought back up and ever get built on, or?
Yeah, eventually,
Yeah,
someone will, not right now with the economy the way it is. I feel that, houses, it's not a seller's market right now, it's more
sure,
buyers.
sure.
And the property at the top of the hill, Fairview and Upper Gulf on the left-hand side,
Mhm.
there used to be 1 home there, now they were talking about putting 4 in there and send that traffic down and through the one-way road, one-way street, back up Henry.
Are they both two-way, are all of them two-way roads?
No, Fairview is not, Fairview's a one-way.
And that's,
Fairview is the one up where the barber shop is.
okay, so Fairview, Henry, Mount Pleasant.
Yes, you go down
That's-
Fairview's a one-way, and when you make the right turn at the bottom of the hill, that's still a one-way.
Right,
And then Henry's a tight 2.
yeah, definitely, and Mount Pleasant as well.
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that they'll make, I guess, or do you think that, I guess they'll just maybe make Henry a one-way coming up, or do you think they'll
No.
do any of that?
No, they're not going, they won't do any of that.
Yeah,
And the problem, before the guy ran out of money, they were gonna put 9 homes on
Nine, and
on the
that-
bottom, yes, of Fairview and Henry.
what did the community or
Yeah,
yourself
we-
feel about that?
No one wanted that, but,
Yeah.
it's the township who really didn't care. You know what I mean? They just say it's legal, that they can do it, but they don't look at the fact that the roads are already narrow, so now you're gonna have more cars, even with the college kids. If there's a fire down there, how do we get there with our, trucks or
Right.
the ambulances? They're not gonna fit.
Right, yeah,
The trucks are
definitely.
bigger and bigger now. You're close enough to the firehouse.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I understand.
Yeah.
Let me see. I guess a lot of stuff Barbara Bird talked about was the zoning issues. The fact that it's an R4 zoning area
Yes.
and how they're, obviously the barber shop's there, which I'm sure is a great thing.
Mhm.
You guys love that. Um, but, with the possibility of any business, moving in, is that something that you would be totally against?
Well, a business moving in? No, I'm not against that. And R4 is more of a cluster deal, like you can pack more housing in a,
Okay.
in an
And there's
area.
like the sidewalk to street distance is allowed to be less, I guess.
Yeah, R4 is, Mount Pleasant shouldn't be R4.
You think it should be R5?
I don't know
Uh-huh.
what it should be, but
Or just-
R4 is not,
Okay.
is not right.
Do you think? I mean, what kind of effect do you think that really does that have on the neighborhood?
Being R4?
Yeah.
Well, you can see they bulldoze one home and they can put 4 in its place.
Right.
Then down the hill they bulldoze 1, 2, 3. I say 3.5. Could say 4 because it was and now they can put 9.
Right.
In the same spots where they had.
So technically, they could use an entire property, have no yard, and have as
Mhm.
many units as they
Yes. Yes.
want. And that's definitely something you
Right.
don't think would be.
And the homeowners that are there that fight it, that feel that, it's wrong, that
Yeah.
you go to the township, the builders, they all know the township people from projects they've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey, this is what I want to do, I need
Yeah.
a variance, setback, this and that, and they get it.
Right. They work the system. I
They
guess.
work it and get it, and people that don't know,
Mhm.
like some of the homeowners, and they say, well, I want to put a deck on my house. No, you can't put a deck on. Or, no, you can't fix that fence.
Mhm.
No, you can't put a new roof on. Things like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, from what you can, I don't know, hear or tell as your mom still lives there, do you feel like the police are, I'm sure they're not as brutal or as, not as bad as they were when you were growing up,
Okay.
but do you still feel like they're, not very helpful or not helpful at all?
No, I wouldn't say that. They're totally, well, I don't know if I should say totally different. There are some differences. What I did over the years was I made it a point to meet them, to, you know what I mean? To make sure they notice me, see me.
Know that you care, I guess, kind of thing?
And
Or?
whereas, the targeting issue, that still exists.
Really?
Yes, that still exists. And no one can tell me it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as much as, maybe popular media and who, everybody
It's
would like to
still,
believe.
and the schools are still pretty much the same. They haven't really changed neither as far as the education and
Right.
who needs what, and race relations. That hasn't changed much.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I went to Conestoga and you did too. I mean, if you could ballpark your senior class, how many African American, do you think there were?
No, I'm gonna say 15.
15, really. I mean, I would say mine would be maybe approaching 40, 30 or...
In the senior class?
In my senior class. I would actually, 30, 35.
Yeah.
And, that's just one class to say overall, because they have the, I don't know the proper name, but it's a club. I think it's called Flow. Dante
Okay.
Coles, the
Yeah.
name Dante Coles, he was an assistant football
Mhm.
coach. He ran it, and it was almost all of the African American students
Yeah.
would go to that, and it would be kind of astounding how few there really were.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, well, I've always said 100 in the school, but I'm sure there was nowhere near that many black
Right.
kids in school. I had to pull out a yearbook and go through it and see, but as far as our graduating class, yeah, we didn't have
Right.
a lot, maybe 20.
there's also a significant amount of black students that came and didn't graduate. Like, at some point during my 4 years of high school, came and then either left, moved somewhere else. Was that similar in?
No, they graduated. It was just a matter of if they could read and write and,
Sure.
do things to, obviously you're going to function, you're going to survive. But
Yeah.
the fact that you can get a diploma from supposed to be one of the best schools in the state
Right.
and you can't read and write, there's an issue.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I guess I kind of already ran over this, but I mean, we can kind of touch on it again. Just the fact that Mount Pleasant is split, with the Upper Marion Township, two different Easttown, and it's almost right next to Radnor.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, we're close to Radnor as well.
I mean, I guess what issues or what was there any advantage? Was there? I mean, what was the result of all that?
Nothing. We just got together. We played. We didn't do.
Yeah.
There wasn't any turf wars.
Right. But
Yeah.
as far as like maybe the garbage pickup or if something happened and whoever called the police ended up calling the Upper Marion police, was it like something? Okay, we should be sure to call the Upper Marion police, or we shouldn't call
Yeah.
the two different Easttown guys, or
Yes. Well, but that issue is in anywhere. I'm with the fire company,
right,
and when we go to a scene, if it's a bad accident or if something's going on, we have to notify the other township that that it's in their run area, and then they
Right.
handle it. We had an elderly woman down the street from my mom, and the police were called. The ambulance was called from my mom's house.
okay,
And so the ambulance came, but the house was actually in Upper Marion. So I said to the one guy, I said, you gotta help her. She was laying in the yard. She had fallen, and she was there all night. It was freezing cold, snow on the ground.
sure,
And she was out there all night. And they had to get permission.
they had to get permission before they could help a person in
before you can
distress.
help.
Do you feel like that is something that would only happen?
No, that happens everywhere.
Okay,
That happens everywhere.
all right, that makes sense. I would hope so. I guess. I guess going forward, like the future of Mount Pleasant. What would you like to see? What would you not like to see, or just anything about going forward? I mean, that's pretty open-ended, but
Mount Pleasant is gone. There won't be a Mount Pleasant.
really.
As the people in Mount Pleasant get older, the kids don't stay. They, they'll get tired, they'll get frustrated, they move on, they move out of the house.
Right.
A lot of times they don't go back, like if their parents pass away or, they're living somewhere else now, they sell the homes. Well, they contact the realtor, and that realtor don't always just put it on the market. They call one of the developers that they're friends with,
Yeah.
that,
Referring business.
yes, and then that house is now gone. We have
Right.
houses that get sold before we even know they're on the market. We don't know
Wow.
they're for sale until we see the sold signs out front.
Wow. So do you foresee, in 15, 20 years, a Mount Pleasant that's just absolutely nothing like, what you grew up in?
Yes,
like,
It's already
yeah,
not, yeah, and I feel sorry for the kids that are there. They always say, well, you have a playground. We don't use that playground.
right. You
You
know,
know?
I
We
drive
don't
by,
walk up there.
drive by there all the time. I've never seen a person on that basketball court.
Yeah, yeah. It
Which is
does
too
get
bad.
used sometimes, but, yeah, and then if the township wants, they can stop that too, because it's now under the umbrella of the Tredyffrin Township Park and Rec Board, and you have to have a permit, you know, you can play basketball, you know, 5-on-5, but
Mhm.
other sports where it requires more people, like football, things like that in the big field, you know, they were asked not to put that backstop up there for baseball because, you know, we use that field for football. So they put the foul, you know, to block the dugouts kind of thing, to up the first base line. So it took away the use of that field for what the community used it for.
Wow. Do you have any other questions?
Nah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think of something. I actually had one just now. I guess, yeah, I guess following just my last question, I mean, do you maybe foresee a Mount Pleasant that's a college town or, you know, strictly college kids? You know,
Yeah.
near,
It-
not near future, but,
Well, the township's supposed to have put a limit now on the number of houses that could be rented to college kids.
okay.
So, but I don't know if they'll leave it like that, only because as houses are sold, people, whomever who goes to look at the house, don't care what color they are, if they go to buy a home and see partying and all that, or lots of cars and traffic going up and down the narrow roads, it's not gonna be appealing to them no matter what the house looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah. I mean, it's almost as though, you know, the people, you know, the African American people that would fit in the neighborhood, be able to afford the housing, you know, and when someone else moves out, it's like they don't even have the opportunity to move in.
And now that, well, the African community, now there's more people. It's funny you say that, I said African, I don't usually use that.
Yeah, I just try.
I just say Black American because I was
Yeah.
born here, my parents were born here,
Yeah.
my grandparents were born here.
Okay, yeah, I'd
you
say
know.
it back and forth.
So then I say, how far back do we have to go
Yeah.
before, you know, we're become Americans,
Right.
you know? Africa, the continent's got a lot of other
Yeah.
little countries in it. I don't hear any of them being labeled African
Right.
American.
So do you almost find offense in African American?
Personally, yeah.
Okay.
I
Alright.
do,
Well,
because, you know, I don't need a title. I'm Bryan Baynard.
yeah.
That's me.
Right.
I don't want African-American Bryan Baynard.
Yeah.
I don't
Because it's
need
not
that.
like when, you know,
Yeah.
white Brendan Burke.
Yeah,
I
right.
totally understand. Okay, well, how much time do we, yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Actually, I think the battery's dying.
Battery's time, okay, well,
Let's figure out how to.
Oh, man, that's like in True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
it's a great movie.
When that, yeah, terrorist is recording it and the battery's
Let me see
lights
how much.
flashing.
Yeah.
How to get this.
Is it still recording right now?
Yeah.
Well, the last couple questions, do you have children?
Yes.
And where do they go to school?
Well, we have my last one. He's a senior at Conestoga,
Great.
and
You play sports?
yes, he plays football,
Boy,
runs track,
good.
and not listening right now. He's 18,
He's that age.
yeah,
Yeah, they
and
don't know how to listen. I didn't know how to listen. until
he
I
doesn't
was-
understand what it means to not run track. Neither does the school,
Yeah.
because we said he's not to run track. We want him to concentrate on his
Football.
on his
agility.
education, because he has to go to college next year.
Right.
And for the last 3 years, I've been saying, September 1st, 2012, college or curb,
Yeah.
you know, and to let him know that he wasn't
Yeah.
going to be home in the bed while I'm at work.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
definitely
school
good.
said, well, he's 18, he can, if he wants to run track, he can run track. So he's
Yeah,
not
and
doing.
you know, he's probably got coaches, football coaches in his ear saying, stay in shape, stay in shape, you know.
Yeah, so
Right.
he graduates in a few months and
Right.
we'll see what happens.
And how many older siblings does he have?
Well, I have two biological kids.
Mhm.
They're all old. I say old, you know.
Older than us?
From 1980 was my oldest was born in 80.
Oh, okay.
And then I
So
had
30-ish.
Two adopted.
Cool.
Three adopted, actually. Adam, my
Great.
youngest now, he was adopted as well. I did
Great.
foster parenting and foster adopt, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I only have two biological kids. Only two!
Only two.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I figured this out.
Yeah, we just make sure we don't delete it. But thank you very, very much. We appreciate your
Okay,
time.
no problem.
Let's see.
The battery is.
If I just